But he also put inside there a tree of choice, which was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He said, don't eat it. Don't touch it. And the moment you touch it, you decide that you know what love is. The moment you touch, you decide that you're going to take life, your own life in your own hands. And the last thing we see on last night, Genesis chapter 3, is that God put a flaming sword at the entrance of the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve could not get back to that tree of life. And ever since then, we've been trying to get back to that tree of life where we can live forever. God created us for a relationship, to live forever. Let's read on tonight, Genesis chapter 11, verse 27 through Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Now, it's in your Bible, but you can also read it on the listening guide. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah became the father of Abram, Noah, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans in the land of his birth. Abram and Noah both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Noah's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarah was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarah, and the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. The Lord said to Abram, go from your country, your people, your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you, and I will make your name great. And you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the peoples of the earth will be blessed through you. I want to talk about on tonight, something has gone terribly wrong. You may be seated. Would you repeat after me? Something has gone terribly wrong. When we look at the end of Genesis chapter 3, where Adam and Eve both took their lives inside of their own hand, and they decided they knew what was best for their life. And the last thing we see is the angel who has put a fiery sword, a flaming sword, in the entrance of the Garden of Eden, where we cannot go back. It is clear to all who read the Bible, it's clear to all of those, to Adam and Eve, that something has gone terribly wrong. The creation that God made that was perfect, with perfect health, perfect minds, a perfect world has been broken. And it was not broken because of what God had done. It was broken because of what we have done. So the question is, after Genesis chapter 3, can we get it back? And I don't know if you're going to be honest on the night, but if you are honest on the night, you will have to admit that something has gone terribly wrong. Say that, Choo. When you look at the crime that takes place inside of our world, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that something has gone wrong. The other day in Missouri, a family of 9 died on a duck boat, and a mother lost all of her children. That lets you know something has gone terribly wrong. When you look at the school shootings that take place in our country, it's a reminder that something has gone terribly wrong. When you wake up in the morning with aches and pains, that's an indication something has gone terribly wrong. When you have medication for high blood pressure, and medication for diabetes, and medication for lupus, and medication for all types of diseases, it reminds you that this world is broken. something has gone terribly wrong. There was a theologian of the 1500s that said, man has within us this notion of anger whenever something or some tragedy happens. And I want you all to think about the last time something happened to you that was detrimental. Mine would be the loss of my father or the passing of my father. I didn't lose him because I know where he is. But I knew once he transitioned, I had to be honest with you, I was disappointed. I was angry. I was upset. I don't know what your tragedy is, but if you're honest on the night, you've had moments of anger when some tragedy has happened, when you've gone to the doctor, got a report, and it wasn't favorable, you've been angry. And there's a point, this theologian says, of indignation where you're mad because it has happened. But it's an indignation of, it doesn't have to be this way. You know within yourself that what has happened, it didn't have to be. What in the world will make us think that when all we've known is a world of death? Truth of the matter is, I knew sooner or later either my daddy was going to die or I'm going to die. But yet when it happened, I had anger. But I don't know a world, and you don't know a world without death. Can I get a witness? You've never seen a world without murder. You've never seen a world without crime. But yet when those things happen, we get mad because we know within ourselves it ain't supposed to be this way. Can I get a witness here? You know this world has been broken. You know something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. From Genesis chapter 4 all the way to Genesis chapter 11, man was working to make right what went wrong in Genesis chapter 3. When we get to Genesis chapter 11, we see men who come together and they say, let's build us a tower up to the heavens. And then they say, listen, we're going to make a name for ourselves. Whenever they say we're going to make a name for ourselves, basically they're saying, not that we want to be famous, but what they're saying is we're making a name for ourselves, for a name that people can call on. What they're saying is when we fix what's broken, folk are going to call on our name. But I want to tell y'all two things right quick. I want to tell you two things right quick. Two things real quick. We just read what God tells Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, I'm going to make you great. He says, I'm going to make your name great. But yet in Genesis chapter 11, we see these men who come together and they say, we're going to make a name for ourselves.
Preach, Choo, preach.
I read the Bible several times. And I'm going to give $1,000 to anybody who can read Genesis chapter 11. And after Genesis chapter 11, if you can name or if you ever see their name again. If you can name one person in Genesis chapter 11 who said we're going to make a name for ourselves, I give you $1,000. Choo, what are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is when they tried to make a name for themselves, they failed. We don't know their name. But when God tells Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, I'm going to make it great. Everybody in here know Abraham's name. Matter of fact, they got songs about him. Father Abraham and many sons had. See, there's somebody inside of here tonight, you think you're so smart, you think you're so educated, that you think you're going to make a name for yourself. But I come by to tell you on tonight, if you make a name for yourself, you're going to fail. If you make a name for yourself, you're going to become into obscurity. But if God makes a name for you, if God makes a name for you, folk going to try to erase your name and they can't do it. Friends, it's there in Genesis chapter 11. Well, God calls this man by the name of Abraham, because it says here it's clear in Genesis chapter 11, after their plan failed, and it fell miserably, it's clear that man cannot fix what has been broken. It's obvious in Genesis chapter 11 that that great plan, it failed. And I want to say tonight, how many of our great plans have failed? When you leave God out the plan, you're going to fail. It's clear in Genesis chapter 11 that man cannot fix what's broke. And it's also clear in Genesis chapter 11, if it's going to be fixed, man can't do it. So what does God do? God calls a man by the name of Abraham. He tells Abraham, leave your country. Go to a land I'm going to show you. I'm going to bless those that bless you. I'm going to curse those that curse you. I'm going to make you great, and the world will be blessed through you. Friends, is there where God's project of salvation, God's project of redeeming the world starts right there with Abraham. Now, the logical question is, what is so great about Abraham? The idealistic question is, who is Abraham and why is he so awesome that God has to use him? And the answer is nothing. Nothing is so great about Abraham where God wants to use him. Matter of fact, God tells this man, I'm going to give you a son. I'm going to give you an offspring, and as numerous as the stars in the sky, and as numerous as the sands on the seashore, so shall your offsprings be. Abraham is 75 years old. He's beyond childbearing years. His wife is 65 years old, and she is barren. There's nothing great about Abraham. He hasn't done anything so awesome, so magnificent that God has to use him. And when you read through the Bible, you will discover many times God uses people that you and I wouldn't use. See, it seems like if God's going to use somebody that's going to bless the world, they need to be around for a while. Get somebody in their 20s. Get somebody in their early 30s. Hey, y'all have a baby. Ain't nobody telling nobody 75 and 65. Y'all tripping. See, the truth of the matter is, if you're honest, a lot of men who are older, they ain't chasing skirts no more because they don't want to. No, it ain't because they don't want to. They don't have no more desire. That ain't it. They like that old dog that's out there in the street. They don't chase the car no more. See the old dog, the young dog, they chase the car. But have you ever seen an old dog? When the car go by, he just lay there. Well, why does he lay there? Because he know that when he catch up with him, he ain't going to do nothing with it. Ain't nobody calling no 75-year-old man to start no family. But God chose Abraham out of all the men in the world he could have chose. It wasn't nothing special about Abraham, wasn't nothing unique about Abraham. Sometimes God closes his eyes and says, not you, not you, not you, not you. I'm going to choose you. All through the Bible, you'll find out God continues to use men that you and I, men and women you and I would never use. None of y'all were called Moses as your pastor? Yes, I would, Pastor. You know, you wouldn't. On his resume is I killed a man. The first business meeting, you don't agree with him. You know what's going to happen. Friends, I want to tell you, God chooses, continue to use people you and I would never use. And the truth of the matter is, on the night, some of y'all, God using you. And folk are wondering, why is God using them? Because that's how God does it. Is there anybody here who will be honest enough to say, it ain't nothing so much how great you are, but we have a great God who look beyond our faults, who look beyond our mistakes, who look beyond our insecurities, who look beyond our ACT score, who look beyond our IQ, who look beyond our background check, who look beyond our credit score, and he saw our needs. I mean, some of y'all think y'all some hot stuff. God, he's the one going to skip over you. God uses the one most likely not to succeed. God uses Abraham. He uses Sarah. He calls them. He says, I'm going to bless you. And I want y'all to look at the words he says in Genesis chapter 12. Verse 3, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. I want to say it again. All the people on the earth will be blessed what? Friends, the rest of the Bible hinges upon this promise that God makes to Abraham. You mean to tell me all we holding on to for the hope of salvation is this one sentence that God tells Abraham, I'm going to bless you, and the world will be blessed through you. Now, this is a big old Bible. And this whole Bible hinges upon God's plan of salvation working through this one sentence God gives Abraham. And the world will be blessed through you. What in the world would make Abraham or anybody else think that that's good enough? I want y'all to go over to the first, turn over to go to first, Genesis chapter 17, verse 1 through 8. Listen to what it says. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty, walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will make my covenant between me and you. 24 years have gone by. And will greatly increase your numbers. Abraham fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You'll be the father of many nations. 24 years have gone by. Has that sunk in yet? He's 99. 24 years have gone by. And you'll be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram, which means high father. Your name will be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make you a nation. I will make nations of you. And kings will come from you. 24 years have gone by. And God's still talking about this promise. He don't have one son. I will establish, him and Sarah does not have one son. Verse 7, I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for the generations to come. I want y'all to highlight or underline or put a star by that verse 7. I will establish my covenant. What kind of covenant? Well, I got some Bible scholars in here. What kind of covenant is that? It's an everlasting covenant. A lasting covenant means it's forever. 24 years have gone by. And God tells Abraham, I'm going to give you this covenant. It's an everlasting covenant. I know you don't have a child, but it's an everlasting covenant. Here's the last thing. Look at Genesis chapter 15, verse 1 through 17. Genesis chapter 15, verse 1 through 17. Now, you all don't have 17 on yours, so don't worry about it, but I do. I want to read this to you real fast. It's the whole chapter, but we done. After these things, you all says after this, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abraham, for I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abraham said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then said to him, so shall your offspring be. Verse 6, and Abraham believed. He ain't got a child, but he believed. Years have gone by, but he believed. See, some of y'all been hearing these televangelists tell y'all in 3 days, it's going to turn around for you. 3 days come, ain't nothing happen. Friends, I want to tell you, sometimes it takes 3 years. But the question is, can you hold on to your faith? Y'all ain't hearing me. Some of y'all have setbacks. Have you ever been in? You take 1 step forward and 8 steps back. But it's in those times God says you got to hold on. I wish I had somebody here. Hold on to your faith. I want somebody to be honest with me tonight. Has there anybody here ever got discouraged? God showed you some things, and in the show, it's like the more he shows you, the harder it gets. But I come by to tell you on tonight, no matter how hard it gets, hold on to your faith. I need y'all to help me. Just you turn and tell somebody, say, neighbor, sooner or later, it's going to work in your favor. Sooner or later, God is he's going to turn that thing around. Look, I'm almost done. Let me just read this to you right quick. And the Lord counted to him. He credited him as righteousness. He also said to him, I'm the Lord who brought you out of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. But Abraham said, Lord, sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said, and I want to read this from the NIV version so I can keep on reading in continuation. Verse 9. So he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram and a turtle dove, and bring a pitcher. And then he brought all these to him and cut them in two, down the middle in places, each piece opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds in two. And when the vultures came down on the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. Verse 12. But when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Then he said to Abram, know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them for 400 years. Now this is in Genesis chapter 15. We don't get to Exodus in a couple of weeks. But friends, I want y'all to, for a couple of 100 years, we don't get there. But God saw in advance what was going to happen. The next time you inside of a rut and you don't know what's going to happen, understand God already knows. He already knows. Verse 14, and also the nation whom they serve I will judge. Afterwards they shall come out with great possessions. Somebody say hallelujah. Now as for you, you should go to your fathers in peace, and you shall be buried at a good old age. But in the fourth generation, somebody said the fourth generation, they shall return here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to pass when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, through it there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch that passed between those pieces. And on the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the river of the Egypt to the great river, the river of the Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Rephaims, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Now let me just break this down to y'all right quick and I'm done. In the ancient Near East, the way covenants were made, this is called a suzerain vessel covenant. A suzerain vessel covenant was between a greater and a lesser, between a king and a servant, between a God and a man. And what would happen is they would take animals, cut them in half, face them, as you just read, side by side, the opposite of each other. And the blood from the animals would be in between them. And the lesser, see, the vessel would cut them up. And then the lesser, or the vessel would walk through the blood of the animals of the sacrifices. And it was understood that if anybody broke the covenant, what happened to the animals would be the fate of the person who broke the covenant. As you just read, it was Abraham that cut up the pieces. But it was God who made the covenant. But watch this, not only did God make the covenant, the Bible just told us in verse 17 that the animals caught on fire. There was smoke and there was fire, which means Abraham didn't walk through. God walked through the blood. And what God is saying and what it was understood is whoever breaks the covenant, what happened to the animals, what happened to the one that breaks the covenant. God said, you know I can't die. Abraham, you don't walk through. I'll walk through. God walks through the covenant. He seals the deal saying, no matter what happens, I'm not going to break my side. Whew. Y'all don't know we're in the shout. God says, no matter what takes place, I'm going to keep my side of the deal. I don't care how bad it gets. I'm going to keep my promise. What's the promise? Abraham, you're going to have sons and daughters that outnumber the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. What's the promise? Abraham, through you, they're going to be kings that are going to come through your lineage. Anybody ever read the Bible? Anybody heard of David? Anybody ever heard of Solomon? Anybody heard of Hezekiah? All those are kings that came through his lineage. Oh, not only that, my brothers and sisters, he told them, now, the way you know that you're going to be in the covenant is that in this land, you're going to come back here to Canaan after y'all gone to Egypt for 400 years. You're going to come back to this land. And for those of y'all who remember when they came out of Egypt, they wandered in the wilderness. Dr. Parker, that you got for 40 years. But after they got through wondering where they go back to Canaan land, the way they know that the covenant was safe is that they were living in Canaan land. God said, I ain't going to break my word. Friends, I got to leave y'all when I tell you, whatever he promised, he going to do. I don't know who I'm talking to tonight, but whatever God showed you, he going to do. Whatever God told you, he's going to do. If he has to stop time to keep his word, he's going to keep his word. If he has to turn heaven upside down to keep his word, he's going to keep his word. Just on last week, I was preaching revival in Beaumont, Oklahoma, on the last night of revival. I never will forget a woman by the name of Mrs. Govan came down for altar prayer and for testimony. She said, Pastor Bailey, I'm 80 years old. I've lived in my house for 30 years. And since I've had my house, there's been holes in the roof. Since I've had my house, there have been holes in the floor. Since I've had my house, there have been cracks in the walls. My friends tell me I need to move to a nursing home. But I told them God showed me 30 years ago, he's going to bless me in this house. She went on and told me, she said, I have friends and loved ones who would come on holidays, but they wouldn't stay in my house because they were too scared of the holes in the roof and the holes in the floor and the cracks in the wall. But I told them, go on to the Holiday Inn. God promised me 30 years ago, he's going to bless me in this house. She said, I got discouraged. But on September the 2nd, 2017, Hurricane Harvey came through Beaumont, Texas. It took the roof off my house. It knocked down the back wall. I had to stay in a shelter for three months. She went on to say, I had to get some paperwork from the house. And there was a man in a blue shirt. He was in my house. I went to the man. I said, what are you doing? He said, is this your house? She said, yes, it's my house. She said, I got an attitude. And I told him, I ain't going nowhere. That man told me, I don't want you to go nowhere. I'm from the United States government. And they had declared your house a disaster zone. All I need is your name, telephone number, and Social Security. And the government is going to build you a brand new house. She said, Pastor Bailey, I'm shouting on the day because on the day I got the keys to my brand new house. And I come by to tell you, if God said it, you can count on it. If God said it, I don't care how long it takes, you can count on it. Ain't God all right? I said, ain't the Lord all right? I need somebody who's ever called on the Lord. I need somebody who knows God hears and answers prayers. I need somebody who's been waiting on the blessing. And it seemed like it won't come. But you know God may not come when you want him. But he's always, I said he's always on time. Where are my witnesses? Where are my witnesses? Where are my witnesses? I need y'all to help me. Find somebody. And say, neighbor, come on, find somebody. Look him in the face and say, neighbor, you've been waiting on a blessing and it seems like it won't come. Your body's sick, pains everywhere, and it seems like you are done. But say, neighbor, the devil, he's a liar. The devil, he's a liar and a deceiver. God, he ain't through blessing you. God, he ain't through bringing you out. God, he ain't through turning your life around. God, he ain't through. Do you believe it? I said, do you believe it? If you really believe it, shout like it's on the way. Shout like it's on the way. Shout, shout, thank him. Yeah, 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 yes, yes. It's on the way. I said it's on the way. Somebody help me shout out, it's on the way. Come on, somebody help me shout out, it's on the way. Don't it get hard sometimes? I said, don't it get hard sometimes? I said, don't it get rough sometimes? Don't friends get few sometimes? Don't money get low sometimes? But is there anybody here who can testify he's never failed me yet? He's never let me down. He's never let me go. He's never